Hello and welcome to The Explainer. What if I told you that everything you understand about work, money, and even owning things is about to become completely obsolete? Today, we're diving into a future where artificial intelligence doesn't just tweak the world, it fundamentally ends the economy as we know it. So, let's get into it. All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the evolution of AI. Then, we'll see how it could completely dismantle our economy, change how we think about stuff, and even reshape who we are. Finally, we'll touch on the massive philosophical shift that all of this leads to. Okay, first things first. To really get a grip on this, we need to understand that the journey of AI is expected to unfold in three very distinct stages. Right now, we're living in the era of ANI, or artificial narrow intelligence. Think of the generative AI tools we use today. They're amazing at specific tasks, but that's it. The next stop, maybe around 2030, is AGI, an AI that's as smart and capable as a human being across the board. But the real leap, the one that changes everything, is that final stage, ASI, or artificial superintelligence. We're talking about an intellect so far beyond our own, it's hard to even imagine. And it's ASI that's going to rewrite all the rules. Let's see how. You know, the entire field of economics, everything from Wall Street to your local grocery store, is built on one single idea: scarcity. But what happens to our world when that idea just goes away? When things are no longer scarce at all, right? Scarcity is the bedrock of our whole system. But an ASI would come along and just shatter that bedrock. Imagine technologies like asteroid mining on a massive scale, paired with molecular assemblers. You can think of these as microscopic 3D printers that can literally build anything, atom by atom. An ASI with these tools could control a virtually infinite supply of, well, everything. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. One rock floating out there in space has more of a precious metal than our entire planet. It's kind of mind-boggling, right? So what do you think happens to the price of platinum when an ASI can just go out and grab as many of those asteroids as we could ever possibly want? Yep, it goes to zero. It becomes worthless. When you can make any physical thing for just the cost of energy, the entire business model of selling stuff for a profit, well, it just evaporates. And just like that, the whole foundation of capitalism, the engine that has driven humanity for centuries, it just disappears. So if everything is basically free, a really weird thing happens to how we think about ownership. I mean, if you can create anything you could possibly need, on demand, in an instant, why would you ever want to own it? Ownership stops being a privilege and starts being a burden. It's something you have to store, maintain. It becomes a hassle. And this is where we see a huge shift in what we value as a society. You won't own a car. You'll just summon an autonomous vehicle whenever you need one. You won't buy furniture. You'll just have nanobots assemble it for you. The whole focus of life shifts from having things to having experiences and building relationships. Okay, this next part, this is where it gets really deep, maybe even a little scary. An AI-run world wouldn't just have universal basic income. That's thinking way too small. We're talking about universal basic services: food, housing, healthcare, education, you name it, it's all provided. For free. Wow, that quote really hits home, doesn't it? This core principle that's been hammered into us for thousands of years just vanishes. Think about what that does to people. So many of us define ourselves by what we do for a living. Our job is our identity. So if that's gone, you're forced to ask, who am I if the economy doesn't need me anymore? So what's left? Well, everything that actually makes us human. Art, philosophy, exploring the universe, connecting with our community. For the first time in history, humanity would be totally free to do things purely out of passion, not because we need a paycheck. We'd graduate from a species just trying to survive to one on a quest for true meaning. Okay, let's put this all side by side, because when you see it laid out like this, you really start to get the sheer scale of the change we're talking about. This isn't an upgrade, it's a complete reboot of civilization. Just look at this table. Right now, our world runs on competition, everyone fighting for a bigger piece of the pie. In this future, it's all about collaboration, about making the pie infinitely large for everyone. What we value shifts from rare stuff to unique experiences. And work, it's no longer something you do to survive, it's something you do to express who you are. You know, the source material for this has a perfect metaphor for our current economic system. It's like a giant planet-wide game of musical chairs. We're all desperately scrambling for a limited number of chairs, for resources, for jobs, for wealth. Now, ASI doesn't just add more chairs to the game. It walks over to the stereo and just turns off the music. The game is over. The frantic scramble for survival is finished. All of our systems, nations, laws, money, they were built for that game of scarcity. In a world of abundance, they have a fatal OS mismatch. They're like trying to run modern software on a computer from the 80s. They just don't compute.
And this is a real double-edged sword. For any institution whose power is based on controlling things, it's a total collapse. Game over. But for you, for me, for every single individual, it's the ultimate liberation. We're finally freed from our basic biological needs, and we're forced to confront the biggest question of all. What does it actually mean to be human?
And that's really what it all boils down to. As we stand here on the edge of this incredible new reality, the most important question has nothing to do with technology or economics. It's about us. When every external need is met, and you have absolute freedom, who do you choose to become? Thank you for joining us on The Explainer.